Having trouble deciding which new movie to see, a different TV show to binge watch, or another great band to listen to?
Well, have no fear, look no further, because we're here to spice up your entertainment life. We have the latest Hollywood scoop with Kelsey Burr, an on-the-street report from Nick Ewing, and the lowdown on the latest movie trailers with Ryan Miller.
All this and more is coming your way, so grab your popcorn, kick back and relax, because The Real Deal starts now. Hello and welcome to The Real Deal, Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. I'm Kaylee Russell.
And I'm Connor Fack. With the constant flow of entertainment emerging from the industry, Hollywood never seems to have a slow news day. Here to tell you the biggest stories from the past week is Kelsey Burr with Hollywood Headlines. Kelsey?
Thanks, guys. The box office battle was on this past weekend. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney versus Tom Hanks. Captain Phillips, a movie based on the real-life events of a Somali pirates attack on an American ship, opened with $26 million, coming in second place at the box office behind Gravity, which is still #1 after its second weekend, earning $44.3 million. So far, Gravity has earned $123.4 million domestically and more than $150 million worldwide. The highly anticipated 50 Shades of Grey movie has lost its lead for Christian Grey, as Charlie Hunnam has dropped out. Universal Pictures said in a statement that, quote, "The filmmakers of 50 Shades of Grey and Charlie Hunnam have agreed to find another male lead, given Hunnam's immersive TV schedule, which is not allowing him time to adequately prepare for the role of Christian Grey." Hunnam is currently wrapping on his TV show Sons of Anarchy. The studio had set a release date of August 1st, 2014. CBS has picked up a new comedy pilot produced by best friends Ben Affleck and Matt Damon through Affleck's company Pearl Street Films. The comedy, called More Time with Family, stars Tom Papa as a stand-up comedian who stops traveling so much so he can spend more time with family, and then realizes no one asked him to do that. Papa and Damon came up with the idea. And then Meg Ryan is moving to the small screen after keeping a low profile for the past few years. She is set to star in and executive produce a comedy for NBC, where she'll be a, quote, devoted and non-confrontational single mother who's returning to work at a publishing house whose boss was previously one of her former interns. The currently untitled series is being written by Mark Lawrence, who also wrote Miss Congeniality and Family Ties. That's all for your Hollywood headlines. I'm Kelsey Burr.
Thanks, Kelsey. I had a hard time deciding whether to see Gravity or Captain Phillips last weekend, but I ultimately went with Gravity, and I don't regret it. It was amazing.
You definitely made the popular choice, but now it's time to take this very debate to the streets of Ball State University. Our on-the-street correspondent, Nick Ewing, is here with your thoughts on Gravity and Captain Phillips. Take it away, Nick.
Hey guys, Nick Ewing here. I'm out walking around Ball State asking people if they've seen Gravity or Captain Phillips, or both, and which one they like better.
Honestly, I have to give it to Gravity. I preferred Gravity. I'm always a sucker for Alfonso Cuarón. I really am. Children of Men is my stuff.
Probably Captain Phillips, just because that was a really interesting story when it was actually, I think it's based on a true story. Yeah, I think it's based on a true story, but yeah, I'd want to see that, I think.
It has some historical references. I remember this happening very vividly. I remember watching CNN as it was going on and wondering, how are we going to get, these guys off this boat and the Somali pirates to get off the boat, and how it's going to happen.
Me personally, I love gravity. It's what keeps us from exploding and flying into space into a million different directions. Is that what you wanted to know about Gravity?
I thought it was really innovative, the way they shot in space, and I thought it was cool how, I didn't see the 3D, but I've heard the 3D version was awesome.
Then I went and saw it in 3D.
Oh wow,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, I thought it was a great space movie, realistic-wise, and I was really impressed.
Well, I love space themed movies anyways, all the time. So, and big fan of Sandra Bullock.
I saw Gravity opening night. It was the best. It was really a real achievement for the director, Alfonso Cuarón. I really thought that he did a good job visually, as well as keeping a fluid and moving picture going without flashbacks or flash forwards, anything like that.
Just the special effects were out of this world, literally.
I don't know what you guys think, but to me, it sounds like both movies won. It's a tie. I can't call a winner. I'm Nick Ewing. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Nick. It's time for our first break, but don't go too far. When we come back, Aidan Hall is here with a super top 5, and Ryan Miller will share his thoughts on some of the newest movie trailers.
But first, here's this weekend's box office report. Stick around.
Sir means dummy. Good luck means... What are you gonna do?
Because I know your every move. Nobody knows Machete. Machete kills.
Totally! Bananas!
You guys, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, we'll be thankful we didn't run into a cheese spider!
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, too.
Captain Phillips, can you hear me? Captain Phillips, can you hear me?
Welcome back. Superheroes have been a popular trend in movies of late, and now they're increasing their presence on television.
You'd think with all the prequels, sequels, and spin-offs out there, every hero would have his or her chance to shine. However, there are plenty of superheroes that haven't had that opportunity. Here to tell us about the Caped Crusaders who deserve to have their moment in the spotlight is Aidan Hall with this week's Top 5. Aidan?
Thanks, guys. With the recent release of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the announcement of not only a new Superman-Batman movie, but also a Gotham PD series and a new Flash series, I thought I'd come up with the top 5 heroes in need of their own television shows and movies. So sit back, true believers, because here they come. Number 5, the Demon Etrigan. With series like Grimm, Sleepy Hollow, and the Dime a Dozen Vampire series out today, what would be better than seeing Jason Blood and his alter ego, the Demon Etrigan, fight medieval and mystical terrors like the alluring Morgan Le Fay or the unspeakable Cthulhu? The series would also have all kinds of clever times, thanks to Etrigan only being able to speak in rhymes. Number 4, Doctor Strange. Speaking of all things mystical and magical, another great character that deserves his own series is none other than the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. Think Tony Stark, but with magic, as he keeps our realm and the realm of magic safe from not only the forces of evil, but even his own personal demons. Number 3, Nightwing. For a more realistic approach to a superhero crime drama, why not everybody's favorite bird boy, Dick Grayson, as the illustrious Nightwing? We could watch him leap through the concrete jungle that is Bloodhaven and solving crimes as he takes down mob bosses like the malicious Blockbuster, hoping to one day be like the Man of Bats. Number 2, Luke Cage and the Heroes for Hire. Whether it's a big job or a small job, in the cosmos or in the county, Luke Cage and his group of pay-by-the-hour heroes will do anything to save anyone for the right price. To see the weekly adventures of Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the rest of the crew in either slapstick hijinks or dramatic encounters could make it a very interesting show for the whole family. And at number 1, the Suicide Squad. Personally, I love the idea of the Suicide Squad. Supervillains either invited or blackmailed into an elite team that fights bad guys that the government can't touch. This is a group that has a 0% chance of survival, and yet by using their powers together, they're able to escape time and time again. It could be an incredibly dark and gritty, and yet incredibly entertaining series to make with such members like Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and even everyone's favorite, the Bat-Breaking Bane. And there you have it, all you heroes and heroines out there. My top 5 best superheroes to deserve their own series. So keep calm, dear viewers, and Excelsior! I'm Aidan Hall, and this has been the Top 5. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Aidan. Villains never seem to get enough credit, do they? Forget the heroes, I'd love to see an origin story focused on an arch nemesis.
Well, you might have to wait a while for that, Kaylee. Hollywood needs to give the rest of the Avengers their own trilogies, then it make at least 2 prequels for each X-Men. This could take decades.
Connor, you know I can't wait that long.
Don't worry, I have something that will help. There are plenty of films that will be released in the next few months, and Ryan Miller is here to break down some of their trailers. What movies should we look out for, Ryan?
Thanks, guys. The first trailer I want to cover is The Monuments Men. The film stars George Clooney, Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, and Cate Blanchett. These actors, plus a few more familiar faces, tell a different side of World War II that was based on true events. They are American soldiers whose specific job is to find and protect the artwork that the Nazis have stolen, a lot of which went from France. This trailer really stood out to me because I really enjoy films about World War II. Not only that, but the focus is not about winning the war, it's about saving the world's historic artwork for future generations to see. From what I saw in the trailer, I think this will be one film worth viewing, especially if you enjoy war films. Although its main focus isn't the war, it does seem to have some action in it. I will most likely see The Monuments Men when it releases December 18th. The second trailer is The Starving Games. Yes, folks, I said starving, not hunger. This is going to be one of those parody movies like the Scary Movie series. There isn't much to say about this film except, yikes. I get that it's a parody movie about the Hunger Games, and there are going to be multiple other movie references in it, including The Avengers and The Hobbit, but this film doesn't seem like it'll be a huge hit. There were a couple things that made me chuckle here and there, but to be honest, those are probably only the funniest moments in the movie. I'm really not expecting a lot out of this film, so ultimately it's probably something I won't end up seeing when it comes out this November 8th. The third trailer I viewed was Rio 2, the animated sequel to the original Rio. It continues to follow Blue, Jewel, and their new family of little rare blue macaws. In it, Jewel wants their 3 kids to know what it's like to live in the undomesticated jungles of the Amazon rainforest. While there, they meet other blue macaws, including Jewel's family that was separated from in the last movie. I remember seeing Rio and thinking it was just an okay film. However, I will admit that I really liked the soundtrack. So hopefully, when this film is released on April 11th, 2014, it will have a good soundtrack as well. Overall, though, from what I can tell from the trailer, this film might even be better than the first, but only time can tell. This has been Trailer Watch. I'm Ryan Miller.
Thanks, Ryan. My list of films I want to see keeps getting longer and longer. At this rate, I'll be broke by Christmas.
Does this mean I'm not getting my gift?
Who said I was getting... Never mind. Would you look at that? It's time for our next break. When we come back, Chauncey Baker will tell you about his favorite band that you also might come to love, and our co-executive producer Eli Ralston will make a rare on-camera appearance in a brand new segment. You won't want to miss this.
Glad you stuck around. The music industry is a magical land where songs can become hits overnight and artists are shot to rapid stardom. Sadly, there isn't enough room in the sky for everyone, and often bands that are just as worthy are left in the dust.
Some of the best artists out there have been around for a long time, yet have remained relatively unknown. Here to tell you about one of those bands and to help you expand your music library is Chauncey Baker with his edition of Under the Radar. Chauncey?
One of my favorite bands, if not the favorite band of mine, is The National. Chances are you've probably never heard of them before. Well, I'm here to change that. Formed in 1999 in Brooklyn, New York, The National is a rarity because the members consist of 2 sets of twins, Bryce and Aaron Dessner, who play the guitars, while Brian Devendorf plays drums and Scott Devendorf is the band's bassist. The last and final component of the band is Matt Berninger's deep baritone vocals. The band's first album, simply titled The National, was released in 2001 to very little fanfare. The album consists of laid-back alternative country songs, and is more reminiscent of other bands like Wilco or the old 97s. The album is quite good on its own merits, but it doesn't really compare to their later releases. 2 years later, the band released Sad Songs for Dirty Lovers. The album continues the roots rock style the band debuted with, but they go into darker, more post-punk territory. My favorite song on this album is Available. It's a harsh breakup song that will really make the listener recall any painful relationships they may have had in the past. 2005 brought along Alligator. This album is considered their breakthrough release, garnering praise from almost every single critical outlet and wound up on several best-of lists that year. Aside from critical and commercial breakthroughs, the band reinvented the wheel with this album. Many of the songs feature string arrangements, and the production has an intentionally rough sound. Thematically, the album deals with relationships and depression. The way it is pulled off, though, doesn't come off as cliched or overdramatic. All of the songs feel like a slice of life. In 2007, the band unveiled Boxer. The songs stylistically are similar to Alligator, but there are more ballads here than there were on the last album. The opening track, Fake Empire, was performed on The Late Show and appeared on a 2008 Obama campaign ad. After taking a small break, National released High Violet in 2010. Compared to the other albums, High Violet has a more dense classical sound. The lyrics are quite cryptic here, with references to zombies and political turmoil. Matt Berninger has stated that he wrote many of the songs with the fear of becoming a father in mind. This last summer, I had the opportunity to see the National live in support for their newest album, Trouble Will Find Me. The concert was amazing. During one of their encore songs, Matt ran into the audience and climbed on top of the theater seats that were directly in front of me. He had maybe one too many sips of wine that night, but his vocals still sounded as awesome and as rich as ever. Funnily enough, he almost toppled on top of my girlfriend, so I held him back, just to make sure he didn't fall on his face and or my girlfriend. Basically, the album is similar to High Violet. Enough of me babbling. Go out and listen to them. I'm Chauncey Baker, and this has been Under the Radar.
Thanks, Chauncey. I'll have to check them out. It's not often we get to hear about a veteran band like the National in Under the Radar.
Speaking of which, it looks like we're about to hear from a seasoned pro of our own. You've seen him outside the studio in Episode of the Week and Oscar predictions, but today he steps into our territory.
Here's our co-producer, Eli Ralston, who's brave enough to voice his disapproval of what many consider to be one of the best movies of all time in a new segment we like to call Swing at Me. Eli?
Titanic, the second highest grossing film in the history of films with $2.1 billion in sales. Winner of numerous awards, including 11 Oscars, including the award for Best Picture, and one of the most beloved movies of all time. But guess what, folks? It's overrated. This 10-hour-long cheap knockoff to Romeo and Juliet is easily one of my least favorite movies of all time. Okay, I may not hate as much as I hate Elf, but that's for another time. I will only say that the one merit to Titanic is that it's a great cure for my insomnia, because it is one boring movie. You can honestly just skip the first half hour of the movie that's filled with nothing but establishing shots, but don't worry, because there will still be like 5 hours after that. I'm guessing that people like this movie because it's a feel-good love story, showing us that love can be acquired even if it's between people of two different classes, or even the fact that it's basically Romeo and Juliet. And even I will admit that for 1997, there were some decent visual effects. And I guess people eat that kind of stuff up because I also can't deny the fact that it's made a lot of money. I just can't see why. I've attempted to watch Titanic on 3 separate occasions, and only on my 3rd try was I able to actually make it to the end of the film without falling asleep or turning on something worth my time. It's badly written, badly acted, and has one of the most cliche endings I have ever seen. Okay, I will give a pass to Leo DiCaprio because it was early in his career, and he's proven to me that he can be a fantastic actor. Kate Winslet is just in the movie for her looks, and everyone else just plays their typical rich or poor stereotypes. The troubles of the other passengers on the ship seem to not be important at all. With the tragedy that caused the death of thousands of people, why are we focusing on a love story between 2 teenagers who probably don't even know what love really is? Did the crew discovering the Titanic take interviews from anyone else who survived the shipwreck? Or did they just ask Rose? What makes her so special? Was everyone else just not worth focusing on? Or would adding real-world problems into the film make people actually think? And we all know that James Cameron does not want people to think in his films. He just wants to do films that are so vague that have no chance to offend anyone, and they're pretty much guaranteed to be a hit. Cameron also uses cheap tricks to manipulate the audience into crying in this film. There are people drowning, freezing to death in the ocean, a captain who will go down with the ship, and an old couple lying in bed together, waiting to die in each other's arms. I was half expecting Cameron just to add a basket of puppies and kittens being thrown off the side of the boat, while Sad Clown is holding up a cue card sign saying, "Cry now." And can we talk about the scene where Jack dies while Rose is just chilling on the board that can easily fit the both of them? Seriously, look at the size of this board. Is there any reason they both can't easily fit? Maybe put her life jacket under the door to help keep it afloat. Hell, at least take turns lying on the board instead of leaving him in the whole time. Is it just me, or did Jack not have to die? I think this is just proof enough that she really didn't love him. And if $2.1 billion isn't enough for old greedy Cameron, they decided to re-release the movie in 3D, even though there is literally only one part to Titanic that would even be good in 3D, and that's the guy getting hit by the propeller. And that part was never even really that cool. It's like releasing The Lion King in 3D. It's just trying to scam people into coming back into theaters and paying $3 extra to see their favorite movies that they can just watch at home. I honestly just don't see what the big deal with this movie is. There's so many more productive things I could be doing with my time instead of watching Titanic for over 3 hours. by catching up on Breaking Bad. And to all you fans of Titanic out there that I've just enraged, if you see me on the street and don't like what I've had to say, then by all means, swing at me.
Thanks, Eli. We may have just lost half our fan base.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't leave his house for the next few days.
Don't you go anywhere either, because right after this break, Kaylee and I will give you our final word. But first, here are some films that might be worth seeing this weekend. Stick around.
Drag the rats back to their cages.
If I don't get out, I kill you. Fair enough.
Your time is up!
You tell whoever put me here, I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
We're on the verge of a major international crisis.
If you want to do this, you have to do it now.
You all have 5 seconds. What's going on? 5 seconds.
It's just you and your ego and the lies you tell to get whatever you want.
This is information the world needs to know.
We need to crush these guys. It's life. Times is life. If you want the truth.
Your king and queen are...
Welcome back. It's almost time to wrap things up, but first we'll leave you with our final word.
This week, we're going to take the conversation in a completely different direction and remind you all about the importance of seeing a foreign film now and then, because as we all know, Hollywood ain't the only place making pictures. It can be really a treat to see what sort of stories the rest of the world comes up with. So, Kaylee, what foreign film do you recommend?
Well, if you're anything like me, you are practically dying of eagerness for the November 22nd release of The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. So to ease your impatience a little, I highly recommend you watch Battle Royale. A Japanese action thriller released in 2000, Battle Royale is about high school students who are forced by the government to compete in a deadly game to kill each other. Only one can be the sole victor. Sound familiar? Well, this film generated a lot of controversy, and for one obvious reason: the violence. Oh, the violence! If you were disappointed with The Hunger Games' lack of blood and horrific scenes, you will be very satisfied with Battle Royale. The film was banned in many countries, including the United States, where the film was banned for a whole decade. The reason why I like this movie so much is the psychological effects that develop in the students. Some of these children were downright sadistic, as if killing their classmates was as normal as walking in the park. Friends were pitted against each other, even in the early stages of the game. And if you disliked a classmate, then this game was the perfect excuse to get some vengeance. Other students stuck with each other and tried to find a way out of the game, and still others committed suicide, preferring to control their own deaths. Battle Royale is not easy to watch by any means. It's difficult watching 15-year-olds murder each other, who only days before had been classmates. So if you're in need of a good thriller, watch Battle Royale. This film will stay with you long after the credits have rolled.
I'm beginning to think you might not be as innocent as you look.
Well, you never know.
And that's why I lock my doors at night, folks.
Hey!
It's not only you, don't worry. Another one of the most innovative film industry powerhouses outside of the United States is France. From the dawn of the motion picture industry through the new wave cinema of the 1950s and right on to the colorful productions of today, the French have long been putting their own unique stamp on the industry. Over the years, I've seen several pictures from the land of berets and baguettes, and my favorite of that bunch has to be Paris 36. Released in 2008 and directed by Christophe Bartier, the film is an enchanting look back at the trials and joys of a single neighborhood in Paris in 1936. When a ruthless businessman comes into possession of the Chansonnier vaudeville theater, he shuts it down, sapping the very lifeblood out of the small community. And after some months of unemployment, the former stage manager of the theater and his friends occupy the theater building and vow it to return to its former glory. Set against a tumultuous backdrop of rising European fascism and immense change of the early 20th century, Paris 36 is a musical film that dives, dazzles, and delights. The cinematography is bright and saturated, the songs are catchy, even in French, and the dramatic tension builds and builds to a wonderful climax. Like Kaylee, with Battle Royale, one of my favorite aspects of the picture are the characters, both how they're written and how they're played. No matter if they're major players in the plot or accents in the background, each character seems crafted in a way that makes him or her unique and believable within the film's little world. In this way, it reminds me of Casablanca, where even light dialogue of couples dining at Rick's American Cafe had undertones contributing to the unvoiced tension of Nazi occupation. So similarly, each person in Paris 36 exerts a certain underlying anxiety about their precarious situation, while often maintaining quirky surface personas at the same time. In the end, time marches on, things turn out well, but I'll leave you to see how. So if you haven't seen any foreign historical, political, humanist French musicals lately, I would heartily recommend Paris 36.
Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Be sure to check out our Facebook and Twitter pages for updates on all things entertainment. I'm Kaylee Russell.
And I'm Connor Fack. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.